Good morning from London. If you want a cooler and quieter GPU, this is the video for you. We are going to make our own Noctua GPU. Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. And what's great is that it's going to make your GPU run cooler and quieter. And in fact, it's going to make your whole PC run cooler and quieter for not that much money. This is entirely reversible, because GPUs have high resale value. I purchased this for £700, so I don't want to make any modifications that will make it difficult for me to sell it on. So this is why I made this video, to show you how you can replicate this mod in a way that's financially responsible. What you need is toolkit. This is a set that's actually for repairing phones yourself, like, removing the screen, but it also comes with a very handy magnetic screw holder. There are tweezers as well and plastic prying tools. I have another set here as well that also comes with a tweezer. This one is curved. Make sure you get sets that have curved ones, because you might need to unclip something that's in an awkward and very tight position. And again, plastic prying tools, suction cups. And for unscrewing the fans and the shrouds, I am going to use a 2.5mm one, but you can see there's some really tiny ones like 0.8 and a bunch of ones that can be handy for unscrewing PS3 or any type of consoles where the manufacturer does not want you to open it. These are not expensive. Like one of these might be like the price of a coffee. And likewise with this one as well. Contains a bunch of stuff that you don't know what you're going to use them for, but when you need them, it's amazing just to have a bunch of random stuff. I even have the remainder of a birthday cake number 4 candle, so this is really good because these are stiff. So this is my GPU, a 4070 Ti Super. I don't love this design. It's an MSI Slim. It doesn't look very good like this side. And I actually don't see it because it's face down in the case. And also on the other side is the MSI RGB. It's pretty ugly. I don't like it. So I don't actually mind deshrouding because I don't like the design of my GPU. I've actually tested this mod in the past couple of days. Again, my channel, Honest Hans, I only recommend things that I actually like and find useful myself. So I don't create content for the sake of content, so therefore you can trust me. So I've tried this with random fans I had around. These are deep cool from an air cooler called AK620. They're pretty good static pressure, designed for a cooler, of course, so means that they should be suitable for use here. But they are not the ones we're going to use. The ones we're going to use are here, are the Noctua ones. So the first step is to deshroud. I don't like that word. It's quite heavy. Sounds a bit like de-scalping or circumcising. It's quite heavily loaded. Sounds like you're doing something you're not meant to do. So there's two types of configurations. One of them is where the fans are attached to the shroud. Therefore, if you move the shroud, the fans will be removed as well. The second type is where the shroud and fans are independently screwed on to the heatsink. That second type is this one. And you can't really see any screws here, and make you think, how do I get it off? And you might get nervous about having to rip it off and have clips break. But luckily that's not the case with this one. This is removed with screws. And I've already done some work on this, so I don't have to spend a lot of time looking clueless on camera. And you might wonder, where are the screws? I cannot see them. The screws are actually in here. So you can see at that point, that is where one of the screws has been removed. And likewise, you can see other places there. That's another screw that was there for removing the fan. So all of them are like hidden in there, but they're easily accessible when when all the fans are off. You just basically put it in there and go anti-clockwise. 3 screws for the fans, each, and then 2 screws for either side of the fans for the shroud to come off. And that was basically it. And then I also had to disconnect the fan headers. So there's one header for that fan, and there's like one for these two. It was quite awkward, so that's why I mentioned these, because I had to use these to kind of get in there and push some of the retainers in order to just get these off. It took like 10-15 minutes to do it in a careful way, but I got the job done. And here we are. This is my GPU, and you can see exactly where the fans were and also where the shroud was attached. So you have the chip itself, Nvidia chip is there, and you can tell by the, I don't even know whether that's paste or not, but it's there. And then there's the VRAM. The VRAM runs extremely hot, so don't underestimate that. And one thing that I love about my GPU is this open gap here. This is really good because it allows air, hot air, to rise upwards and out of the case. But my issue with the stock fans is that there was a lot of stagnant heat here that wasn't really going away. Even when the fans were at max and I was playing at 4K, it just seemed to be a bit stagnant, and the fans were noisy. So it didn't really feel like they were pushing the air away. But I like that it has this opening, because a lot of other GPUs don't, or they have a little bit more metal there. So this is one of the reasons why I purchased it. But as you can see, the fans have come off. I haven't had to remove the back plate. I haven't had to touch any paste. I haven't had to unscrew this warranty bit, etc. So everything is really intact and fully reversible. Some might think, oh, do you not want 3 fans? But actually, my GPU isn't that long. It's about 310 millimeters, and some other ones are like 340 or 330. For those, you might want a set of 320 millimeter fans, but for my GPU, it's simply not going to fit. Or kind of, maybe it does, but it's a little bit crowded and weird. I think 2 is really sufficient. I have seen some other person who's put then like an 80 millimeter fan right in the middle there, but I have decided not to. But yeah, so I would say before you do it, try to get some pictures of your GPU to see what it looks like with the shroud off. And this one has what's called vapor chamber. So you see these pipes, in there is a liquid. So when the chip gets hot, that liquid evaporates out towards the end of these pipes, and then as they cool down, as the liquid cools down, it then rolls back down, evaporates again, transferring the hot heat and back and forth. So that's essentially what vapor chamber does. So in this case, most hot air is basically going to come towards this side. So the best thing I can do is to just eject as much air away from here as possible. So for this, I need fans with high static pressure. And also for the VRAM here, you want to make sure to cover that, because that is the source of a lot of hot air. So you definitely want to make sure that is covered. In here at the back, I have the header for the RGB that's disconnected. So I'm happy about that. So the next step is to unbox the Noctua fans. Latest one, they've only been around for 1 month, and they've improved on the older ones. So these have been in development for 10 years. So, you know, you need to put some respect on Noctua for their absolute obsession with perfection. But yeah, this unboxing experience is beautiful, and you're gonna see what it looks like inside. Wow. Oh, I'm really smitten, like probably because the brown is so different to anything else. Like all my other fans that I've ever had have been brown, have been black, but this just looks so different, and it feels like you're buying excellence. And wow, even the rubber is soft, much softer than the rubber on the deep cool fans. But I do want to say there will be black ones as well. And I've never seen this before. So this is me unboxing the fans with you guys. Like I've never seen Noctua fans in person, but I'm not going to wax too lyrically about them for so long. So about static pressure, you might find other fans that list the same static pressure in the spec sheet. But what makes Noctua stand out is that they're able to push high static pressure at low RPM, because on most boxes, you will see the static pressure at peak RPM, but you're not really going to run your fans at 100% because they're just going to be too noisy and too overkill. So you are likely to run them at maybe 30% or 40%, and that's where these push greater static pressure than other fans. They might even quote a higher static pressure, but at peak. And you get a lot in here. You get a Y cable. There is, I think, all of these like extra adapters to just make sure that if you put a fan on somewhere, like the plastic isn't in contact with any object, that can like vibrate, or like these are there to absorb some of it. And then you have these things, I don't even know what to call them. Lots more cables, and you have case screws as well. So these are the fans, and these come in this pack where one of them has been calibrated to basically run at 50 RPM less, and that is to minimize like disruption of airflow and whatnot. And I think in order to activate that, you need to use one of these kind of noise adapter. I do not know which one it is, so I need to have a look at that off camera. This is an extension cable, so there's some text there. This one is Y cable, so both of them do normal things. And then here, low noise adapter. So I think maybe this is the one that I need to use with the wide cable. That's what I think. I'll need to find out later. And then the other cable is low noise adapter. Again, not 100% clued up on it, but all of these things can be changed afterwards. And the last cable is, see if we can find out what it says, extension cable. So that's quite generous. You have 2 extension cables, you have a Y splitter and 2 adapters, you get screws, you get all of these low noise absorption bits. So I think from that point of view, like, you pay the premium, but you do actually get quite a lot. And there's also this paper here to make sure that in transit, these are not spinning around and getting damaged. And apparently what's great about these is that the clearance for the fans against the housing is minimal, really minimal. I'm almost too afraid to actually touch these. So let's get them on to the GPU. The fans will be fixed to the GPU with zip ties. Yes, zip ties. Not very glamorous, isn't it? You have very expensive fans, the Hermes of fans, and you're using zip ties. It's a bit like wearing Crocs with a Louis Vuitton bag. But if you don't like zip ties, you can get plastic brackets for fitting fans onto your GPU. I have seen some on Etsy. They're not universal, but there are a couple of on there that fits popular GPUs. So let's get our GPU. And also the good thing about zip ties is that if you feel like you don't need deshrouding and all of this, it means that you haven't really spent that much money. Like, zip ties and existing fans in the house, plunk them on, and you haven't really spent any money. So let's take one fan, put it down, and then the other fan as well, putting it down. So we need to consider placement very carefully. The first thing, like I said before, that's really important to me is that more of the hot air is blown through here, because this is the way it's going to be in the case. So air is going to be sucked in from the fans and it's going to blow all the way out there. Also, before you place fans, make sure that you understand which configuration is pull and which one is push. So in this case, if I fix this on this way, it will suck air in through the top and down through the other side. If I faced it around like this, it will suck air in from below and push it out. So do make sure you consider that. And you have these cables. These are actually quite long. They're a lot more stiffer than the ones on the deep cool ones. So I don't really like that because, yeah, a little bit less malleable, but it is what we have to work with. So I'm going to put this one there. And also remember where you want to actually put these headers. I can get an adapter that will enable me to plug the fans in here, but I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to plug them in to my motherboard. I have 3 fan headers, and I'm going to use one of the Y cables to connect both fans to a header. So why am I doing that? It's because I like the Gigabyte fan control software for my motherboard is very easy, and it means that I can control CPU and GPU fans all in the same place. Meanwhile, the GPU has software, but it's rubbish. I don't want to use it. So I'm just going to make life easier for myself to connect these fans to the motherboard. Then I can just control it all in one place. If I press max speed, it's going to push maximum air out of all the fans on my case. So it makes life a lot easier. So I'm going to put it there, and I will make sure that these cables are facing this way because the motherboard will be sitting here. So you don't want to make the mistake of fixing the fans that way, and then it's kind of ugly because you're going to see the fans. So make sure they're facing the correct position. And with the second one, I want to position it in a way where it covers the GPU chipset, which is there, and the VRAM as well, because like I said, you might think most of the heat comes from here, but it also comes from the VRAM. So before, with the deep cool ones that I just tried last week, it was a little bit more towards that side because I wanted it over the chipset. But now I'm changing my mind. I'm making sure that it's kind of evenly distributed across the VRAM and the chipset itself. So here I can bring it a bit closer. You can see there's a bit of like a silver heatsink that covers the VRAM. And that will leave a bit of a gap in the middle. It's not actually a deal breaker because the main area I want to cover is here. Push hot air away and then also blast air on the hot sources. So it will be there, and then this one will be over here. And then I need to fix them with zip ties, and also pay attention to ensuring that the fans are not sticking out too much beyond this, because then otherwise you will not be able to fit it into the PCIe slot. So have it a bit there, because then the overhang on the front side, it doesn't actually matter because you're mainly going to see it like this. Oh, Noctua is upside down. Wish it could not be upside down, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to be perfect. So let's turn this around. 1, 2, and now time for the zip ties. And I've just noticed Noctua even have an embossed arrow to show you the direction of the air. I think it's going to be sucked from this side and then it goes straight down there. Very good to know, again, these tiny little details. So why zip ties? Zip ties are good because they're cheap, but they also don't conduct electricity. And they also will not be melted by the GPU, because even at the core, the chipset might reach like 80 degrees Celsius, but that's just where the temperature is measured. These heat sinks and everything, like 60, 70 degrees, not a big deal. And also because they don't conduct electricity, you don't need to worry about the zip ties touching multiple parts, so it's not going to fry your GPU. So on my GPU, we're going to use 2 zip ties, and what's going to happen is that we will daisy chain 2 zip ties together to make them longer. So we're going to do that 4 times. So we're taking one. You can see this is the ribbed side. Put it through here. Then loop this underneath. I'm sorry for the horrible angle. It's not easy to do this whilst trying to record. Let's loop it underneath. That's now been looped underneath here. So the placement will vary by GPU. Then I'm taking another one, see the ribbed side. And then I turn it upside down, so the glossy side. And I'll take the end from this zip tie, push it through. Oops, I meant to do this first. Get it through there. Then join them there. But don't do it too tightly. We want to keep things a bit loose so that there is room for adjustment. Loop it through there as well. You can see the shiny side there. So that's loosely fitted. We'll keep it like this. And now I'll do the next one. It's the same here. You have ribbed side facing towards you. Push it through. Then loop it through the heatsink where there is space. That was a little bit awkward, but I've managed to put it in place. Then this one, ribbed side. Make sure the shiny side is going to face forwards towards you. First, I'm going to join them. Then loop this one through. Don't worry, it looks a little bit crude now, but once the job is done, it will be much tidier. Again, kept nice and loose. Join these up here. Leave it like that for now. Then the next one. Now all the zip ties are on, and bear in mind that these long ends will be cut off later. The fans are on, a little bit loose. So before you tighten, just check that you are happy with everything. And like you can see, the cables are not that intrusive, and also most cases are black inside. So you won't really see the zip ties. I've even seen brown ones, but I've kept them black for now. And once you're happy with the positioning, you can then tighten them. Again, keep mind of this clearance, ensure that there is enough, and ensure the same thing on the other side as well. Again, it needs to kind of be in front of that line, just to make sure that the GPU actually fits in the PCI slot. So I'm going to adjust and tighten these off camera now. Here it is, the fans are on. I'm not going to cut the cables yet. I'm going to wait until I've put this back in the case and I'm happy with everything. So always leave some room for adjustments. So here, the fan is sitting on top of, there's like a few retainer like metal bits for the cables for the OEM fans. I could always cut them off, but again, I don't want to cut them off because I don't want to ruin the resale value of my GPU. So like with any job, just leave it off if you need room for adjustments. And we can see that there is one of the zip ties there. In the future, I might buy or 3D print some brackets, but for now, focus on making something work. And there afterwards, once you're happy that it works, you optimize for looks, design, and whatnot. We will use one of the low noise adapters. So the way it works is that if I connect this fan to the low noise adapter, it will run at roughly 50 RPM less. So essentially inside this, the cables might be slightly thinner than these ones, just by a tiny amount, so that it only spins 50 RPM less, which should not really affect cooling, especially if they'll be spinning at 800 or 900 RPM. There's two of these. I only need to use one because again, I only want one of them to spin differently from the other one. If you put low noise adapter on both, then they're both are essentially gonna spin slower but at the same rate. So you want to have a differential, so you have one spinning at a different speed to the other one. So we're going to use one of these here that goes there, and we will use the splitter. Let's look for a splitter. That's not a splitter. This is not either. Where are the splitters? Here's a splitter. Sorry about that. You go in there and you go in there. Is it in securely? Yes. Next step is to plug this in to the computer. Installation time. It's quite a chunker, isn't it now? It's a bit like a burger. Here is the end result, and I'm extremely pleased with it. From a distance, the brown and beige color gives the case a bit of a pop, and as we get closer, there is some purple there that's quite complementary to the Noctua standard colors. Obviously, black fans would have looked a little bit more discreet, but I actually don't mind the color, and it looks similar to the Capybara as well, which is great. But it's lifted up my case. It looks a lot better now. Previously, like the standard GPU shroud looked a tiny bit puny. These are a bit more substantial, a bit chunkier, and I still have a bit of the zip tie there. I can cut that off a little bit further. But as always, when you put something in place, don't be too quick to cut cables and stuff, but just wait until everything is settled and you're 100% happy with it, and make tidy adjustments later on. But it's good. It's really, really nice. And from underneath, there are the fans. Performance-wise, I'm pleased as well. So the goal was to make the computer sound quieter, especially when I'm playing Microsoft Flight Simulator. Overall, this modification for just £80, I think that's what I paid for the fans, is significantly cheaper than buying a Noctua GPU. The Noctua brand carries a big premium, and a Noctua 5080 is £1,500, which is a lot of money to pay just to have those really nice fans. But I've been able to buy those fans myself and fit them onto my GPU. And even if you don't want to spend the money on Noctua fans, you can even buy any other fans and replace like the puny 80mm ones on your GPU. Performance-wise, it's delivered what I expected, and the goal was for the PC to be quieter, especially when I'm playing Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I don't run the fans at 100%, I run them at roughly 40% when I'm gaming. And that means that they're actually quieter than my previous fans were, running a much higher RPM but being much noisier. And obviously the settings that you use for the fans, it's entirely personal. Some people don't mind cranking up the fans really loudly and then use headphones. For me, I play in my lounge. I like to kick back and relax. I have a sound system, so my PC is plugged into the TV. So I don't like when the PC is too noisy. And with some other games that are not Flight Simulator, you can see that the temperature is at around 50 degrees Celsius or sometimes touching 60. And that's quite good. And at that point, the PC sound is quite faint, so you can't tell that someone is playing a AAA game. And that's exactly what I want. Like, I don't like a PC when you put on a game, there's this like whooshy, really noisy sound. Like, if you're someone who's owned a gaming PC or owned a PS4, you know what I mean by loud. But in this case, it's not. The only game that really challenges it is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Bear in mind that I also play at 4K. And that game, especially when you fly over London and also New York, there's a lot of buildings that are being rendered. It's highly demanding. So there, the temperature goes up to like 70, 72, and this is at 40% fan speed. And it's okay, actually. It's no louder than my Xbox Series X. So it's just like faint noises. And actually some of the noises are mainly from the front fans. Because when it comes to PCs, the PC is only as quiet as its noisiest fan. So you need to bear in mind that if your airflow is not optimal, you might need to potentially change things around, like upgrade a couple of the other fans and kind of listen and see what's the main source of noise. For example, myself, I recently removed the rear fan, like the rear exhaust fan, because that was responsible for quite a lot of noise, especially as it's facing kind of a corner here on the wall and the sound just bounces back. So instead, I made sure that both top exhaust fans are on, and that just helps suck air straight upwards, and that's made a difference. I feel like the temperature are better controlled that way, and the PC doesn't get as noisy from the back. I might potentially upgrade the front fans to Noctua as well, but for now I'm okay because they are not cheap, and I don't want to get the Noctua Edition where I end up spending like hundreds of pounds, hundreds of dollars on Noctua fans. But that is generally the way it goes. Like, to make the most out of an upgrade like this, you should like kind of have a think about the airflow around your case as well. But I'm pleased with it, and like I said at the beginning of the video, this is fully reversible. I haven't snapped any clips on the shroud, I haven't cut anything, so when it comes time to sell the GPU, I can just put everything back and it'll be fine as it was before. I hope you enjoyed this video, and sorry I don't have any kind of precise measurement tools and like microphones, etc. for this, but everyone knows by now large fans are quieter than smaller fans running at a higher RPM. And if you're someone who already has a bunch of fans in the house, give them a try on your GPU without having to go out and spend money on the Noctua ones. Thank you.
sneak around those workers to grab that capsule.
Hey, workplace safety laws. You can't be here.